I feel great. I feel like things are happening. Feel like things are actually, coming into place. And then COVID happens. That is a huge turning point for me because it is the first time where I have the most amount of uncertainty when it comes to my dream. I spent 9 years of my life away from home,
Yeah, that's a
which is
lot.
almost half, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
it is.
And what I mean from away from home is not just like location. I mean away from like family. I mean away from my parents, away from my sister, away from my cousins and my uncle,
Your
my aunt, like
friends.
friends, everything, right?
Yeah.
So it's like now I've made the decision to come back to Canada. One of the main reasons is because I want to not make up for lost time because I don't think that you can, but I want to start creating some more memories and get closer to my family because we are so close. We were able to stay really, really close, but there's a side of me that's like, you know what? I'm ready to just come back home. I'm ready
Mhm.
to be with them a little bit more, you know? So yeah.
Okay, so we're stopping at 13, right? Right,
Hmm.
where we got you up to 13. Now, from 13 until you make this decision, how far did you get in your career? I mean, you worked hard. What was that like? You had no parents around,
Yeah.
and you had your grandmother, but you had
Yeah.
no real, I don't know, what was she, a lot of supervision, or were you, I mean, how did that go? Those are critical years of growing up.
Yeah. So I was very free actually as a kid. Um, as a teenager, at least in France. Like to get I'm gonna sell myself out a little bit because I have some funny stories to tell. But like if I think about it, my grandmother, she wasn't like really hands-on when it came to me going to school and stuff like that. If I
Mhm.
wanted to, for example, I could have literally like left like the house in the morning, not gone to school, come back, and she wouldn't have had a clue. And I could have just told her like, "Oh, I went to school." So I had a lot of freedom, but at the same time, I think I was raised until the age of 13 with a certain understanding of like, values and principles where like, no, you do show up, you go to school, you do your thing,
Yeah.
you have to put in the work, you know? So I wasn't too bad, but then there were times where I mean I would I would have a little bit of fun. But ultimately, ultimately, when it came to my soccer, that was one thing that I really had to figure out on my own, right? Because you're going into a new country, you're meeting new people, it's a different language, like you have to adapt to so much in
Yeah,
such
going to a different type of school now and
and
all of
it's in
that.
such a small amount of time as well, right? It's in such a small amount of time, like you have to because it's almost one of those things like um you have to eat or be eaten. Like it's one of those things.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
because if you do not adapt, if you don't find your place, then it's so easy for that experience to turn around and become a negative one. Um, I was lucky that I had soccer because that automatically, like being part of a soccer club and everything, it gives you like a sense of belonging. It gives you this
Mm.
community. It gives you friends. At school, I'll be honest, in France, it also gives you status. The fact
Oh,
that I was
really?
in,
Okay.
yeah, the fact that I was in like the soccer school program, I was one of the 11 players or 11 students in that year to be part of the soccer program was like, you know,
Give you some
oh
clout.
yeah.
Nobody gonna
Yeah.
mess with Ray on.
Yeah, it gives you clout and then also like finding your friends and everything. So all of that was it happened really quickly where I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. I have to find my way. I have to find my place. I have to fit in somewhere so that I can
And that's
just
interesting because
survive.
I think you said you were very shy.
I was.
So how did you do that when you're very shy? You had to like really take some risk, didn't you?
I did. I had to take risks and also but I also didn't change who I was and despite being shy, I think being shy was the fact that I wouldn't go and approach people. That wasn't me.
Mm.
But if people were to approach me, like I'd be okay having a conversation with them. But yeah, in the beginning, I mean, yeah, some people would make fun of me because of the way I would speak French because I didn't have the same accent as them or things like that. But I had to adapt to that. So then I started to learn and listen to their way of speaking and the words that they're using, their slang, their accents, and all that stuff. And I morphed my way of speaking French into their way of speaking French.
Hmm.
That's how I learned the language properly,
Yeah.
right? If you hear me speak French today, and everyone, all my friends and everyone in France, if you were to ask them, like everyone tells me, like you don't hear an accent when I speak.
Mhm.
It's like I speak just like them. You couldn't tell that I'm actually not from France.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so yeah, there were all these things that I had to develop and adapt to because it's a huge, like it's a new world. It's a new experience. It's a new everything. Everything is just
Yeah.
new, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that was one of the big challenges, especially at school. And then when it came to soccer as well, I mean, again, I'm in a situation where I'm not the best. I'm in a situation where all the other kids, they all know how to play. They're all really good. There's not that one kid who's like horrible and who just like there's none of that. It's like everyone is there. So how do you adapt to that? You know? And the fact that I did have quite a bit of like I lacked confidence, I had a bit of self-doubt, it
Mhm.
impacted me on the field. And there was a lot of work that I had to put in when it came to my mindset and who I was up here, who I believed myself to be, in order for me to get to a certain level where, I was able to compete properly.
Mhm.
So, like, I started off, for example, so I'm 13 years old. I start off where, by the way, we're competing. The club that I'm um, at the time competes at the highest youth division in France.
Oh,
So we're
wow.
playing at the highest level possible in the country. It's separated by region, but it's like you can't play higher at that age group. So there's an A team, there's a B team, and there's a C team. And I started playing from the get-go. Like sometimes I'd be selected with the A team, but most times I was with the B team, and that's kind of how it went for the most part of the season. And then towards the end of the season, I was playing a lot more with the A team, but it was still kind of iffy. It wasn't like
Okay.
solid. I didn't have my spot 100%. Um, and then the next year, the next season, I start with the A team, but I'm playing on the bench. Like I'm not starting with the team.
Mhm.
I'm on the bench. And then gradually I get to a spot where I'm starting all the time and I'm even one of the key players. The season after that, halfway through the season, I'm named captain of the A team.
Oh, wow.
So you can visualize the progression.
Mhm.
But if you break down the progression and why that was able to happen, it's simple. There was one thing that was stopping me the most, and that was my mindset. I worked on developing a strong mindset, a powerful mindset where I was able to have that confidence and just step out of that shyness, step out of that limitation that I
Mhm.
had, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of work that had to be done. And I'm talking about starting with things like affirmations, okay? And then moving on to things like visualizing, moving on to things like meditation and all that stuff. At the ages of 13 and 14 years old, I'm literally waking up early in the morning, working out, doing all that stuff, and then sitting down with myself and meditating. Um,
How did you learn to do that? Because most kids that age, they wouldn't even think of using those tools
yeah.
to, um to elevate your performance, elevate your motivation.
hmm One
Um
of the big things, and this is a huge contributor to who I am today, actually, is like my dad has always been a really big learner. He's always been
Mhm.
exposed to personal development and all that stuff, Tony Robbins, and he always liked transmitting the stuff that he learned to his kids, right? To my
Mm.
sister and I.
Mhm.
So
Beautiful.
he would introduce these things to us, right? Little by little. And he would give us books to read or videos to watch and things like that. And slowly what would happen is obviously sometimes when your parents tell you to do things, that's like, oh, whatever, like come on, what is
Yeah,
this
my
stuff?
kids would be like, "Eh."
Yeah. But it was almost at a point where he gave me so much information and it was relevant to my situation because I already knew that I needed a solution to the problems that I was facing. And he was giving me an option. He was giving me like there's this option here and it might help you out. Just give it a try. And I'd try it out, right? There's this one book, for example, it's called With Winning in Mind. And it's about this, I don't know if it's one Olympian or many Olympians, but they talk about mindset when it comes to athletes and how you incorporate mindset into your training and stuff like that. So there's all of this stuff that I'm being exposed to now, and I'm actually seeing the benefits from it. I'm actually seeing
Mhm,
how it's changing things within my performances on the field.
mhm.
So the mindset thing was huge. That one was like a huge change for me.
Right.
The second thing is though, like just simple hard work, like putting in the work and the time and the effort that I needed to put in to become better than everyone else. It was necessary because
And that's how powerful a dream is when you really, 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 really want it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You really wanted it. You had your strong drive and you had your why you wanted it. You
yeah,
wanted to be the best. You wanted to be at the top level.
yeah.
Yeah.
The why is super important and also just like repeating that dream to myself constantly.
Hmm.
Just always being like I just write it down and I just read it all the time. It was an obsession for me. And yeah, waking up early before school, going out, and this is stuff that I was even doing before I even left for France, right? But like developing these habits again of like, yeah, waking up early, going for runs when it's dark outside, and working out, and then meditating, doing all that stuff, and then going to school, training with the club or training with the school, the soccer school program. Then once that's done, coming home and then training on my own. Like I was easily
Yeah.
doing between 3 to 5 hours of training every single day, plus school, plus homework, and all that stuff.
Wow.
Um,
All because of a dream.
all because of a dream. But for me, it wasn't a dream anymore. It was becoming a reality. Like
Yeah. You made it happen.
it was happening, right?
Yeah.
It was happening. And I was growing into it. Yeah, like I said, I 3 years into it, I've become captain of my team, right? Competing at like the highest youth level there is possible. I'm getting now exposure to agents and scouts and their teams that are following me and that are looking at me and that are eyeing me and like all this stuff is happening and then you're like, okay, you're close. Like it's happening. Just keep
Yeah.
going. Just keep going. Just keep going. So then the season after that, it's interesting because it's the first time in my soccer career that I actually had to make a decision on my own when it comes to what direction I wanted to take. And what I mean by that is there was a club who wanted me to sign with them, a different club now. So at this point, I was going to change clubs. So I had that option. And this club, and I didn't know this by the way, and I'll go back to this because this maybe was a mistake, but it was a learning experience for sure. This club they were competing at a very high level compared when it comes to like their men's team and the club and everything. They were
Yeah.
competing at a very high level compared to the club that I was currently at. And they were saying like, look, if you come, like, this is what you'll be exposed to and blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, great. But then the current club that I was with, they were like, no, I think it's best for you to stay at our club. And what we'll do is we'll actually have you play with the older kids and even start playing and training with the men's team at the age
Oh,
of like
wow.
15, 16 years old. So then you have this decision in front of you, right? And I didn't understand everything when it came to like all the levels of play and all that stuff in France and how everything worked. But when it came to the practicality of things, the one club, like this new club that had come to me, it didn't really seem possible for me to go to training every day and do all that stuff. It just didn't align with my situation at the time. Like my grandmother wouldn't have been able to take me there every single time, and there was
Yeah.
no way for me to stay at the club either. So I ended up staying with the club that I was at, playing a year up, and then I got an injury which set me back for a bit, but then after the injury, I was out for like 2 months. I was able to climb my way back from that. Um, the season after that, I'm still captain, playing at the same level, the highest level that I can be playing at in youth soccer in France. And I'm starting to train with the men's team, the first team, and all of that stuff. So all like it's there, it's happening. I'm talking to agents. I'm also talking to some scouts. Agents are coming to see me. They're giving me really good feedback. They're saying, "Look, keep at it. Like it's happening. You're getting there."
Mhm.
And I feel great. I feel like things are happening. Feel like things are actually, coming into place. And then COVID happens.
Ah,
And then COVID happens, and
ugh.
that is that is a huge turning point for me because it is the first time where I have the most amount of uncertainty when it comes to my dream.
Yeah.
I went from it's happening, right? Like it's no longer a dream, like this thing is happening, like I'm making it come true, to it becoming a dream again, to it
Yeah.
becoming far away, right?
Same thing happened to me with my business. It
Yeah,
kind of, yeah, just shut it down. It was like, what? And so many people listening right now, you
for
go
sure.
back to
Like,
that time, it was
yeah,
just such a shift for
yeah,
everyone. It changed everybody's life. It's like that.
yeah. It was a huge for the whole world, right? Everything just
Mhm.
stopped. We all went into lockdown. We all were supposed to like just stay at home. Nothing was happening. I was in my last year of high school.
Ah, yeah.
So that was interesting navigating that whole thing. I was in probably the best shape and in the best situation possible for me to get that big break when it came to soccer.
Mhm.
So it all came at a very pivotal time in my life. And by the way, by this point, my grandmother, she had left to Canada to be with family, and I was actually staying with a host family. So
Oh, wow.
at this point, I had no family. I was not
You're
with
truly on your own.
family. I was
Yeah.
on my own. So yeah, that was the situation that I was in. COVID hit, and it was like, I think a month into COVID, like for the first time ever, and I genuinely, for the first time ever, I thought about quitting. I thought about
Oh, wow.
I thought about stopping this pursuit of this dream, because I couldn't see the end. I couldn't see the light anymore. I couldn't see a way out. I couldn't see the possibility of it anymore. It was more like, well, now what? Like, what happens
Well,
from
yeah,
here?
because we didn't know, we had no certainty at all. It's like, well, is this going to be a month or is this going to be, and then it just kept going and going and going. And so, yeah, the hope
Yeah,
goes away, right?
yeah. And
Takes your hope away.
there's no training going on, like all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so then, yeah, all that happened, and then in between, like COVID, I would say COVID lasted when there were like lockdowns here and there and all that stuff. It lasted for what, maybe 2 years
Yeah, I
with
think
all of
so.
it, right? So during those 2 years, I mean, there was a lot of on and off when it came to soccer. That club that had contacted me before that I would have signed to if it wasn't like so hard when it came to the practicality of things. I was able to actually go and train with them because they were a professional team, so they were able to maintain their training
Mm.
schedules during COVID. They were
No.
exempt, like a lot of professional teams. So I was able to go and train with them. So I was training with them for like 3 months, I would say. There were some other teams that I was able to go and try out with, but timing was so weird in the sense there was one, I think it was October of 2020. I think it was October of 2020 or 21, I might be mistaken, but October, I went for the tryout. Um, Tryout went really well. Like I played really, really well. I felt really good about myself. 2 weeks later, lockdown.
Oh,
We go back into lockdown.
oh.
And then again, it's like it's you I was going through this roller coaster. So when I was younger, when I first moved, like I was going on this like straight path, like it was going up. I was just going up the mountain and it was going really well. It was all swift and smooth. Obviously there were challenges and stuff, but the progression was there. Like it was constant. And
Mhm.
now for reasons that are completely out of my control, I'm going. I'm doing this roller coaster ride where I'm going up and down and up and down and up and down, and that's just messing with me completely. Like whether it's my mental health, my physical health as well, because like I'm not too sure like what's my reason for staying fit? What's my reason for going to train if there's nothing happening right now?
Yeah.
And all of it's just it's like a whole mess. Like in my head, it's just
And
like,
then we go back and look at, I mean, I'm an adult and I went through that, right? And a lot older.
yeah,
You're going through this at what
yeah,
age?
17,
So,
17,
yeah,
18, 19,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
That
And
takes a lot of mental, yeah, mental work.
yeah, and honestly, like they were very challenging times. They were very challenging times, but it was like a chosen challenge in many ways because I was I'd made that choice, right? So it was either up to me to figure it out or to just say, you know what, I'm done and just stop everything. So I kept going. I kept going despite the doubt that had come back, despite the worrying of what's to come and the uncertainty and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I got another injury to my shoulder this time. Uh, and it came to a point where I actually had to go back home to Canada. Um, because first of all, my visa had expired, but also my shoulder needed surgery. So yeah, went back home to Canada, got the surgery done, um, was able to really tap into my mindset once again that I had developed after all this time, where the doctors are telling me, like, okay, you're going to recover in 6 months. Like, you'll be back to playing in 6 months' time. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to let myself do that in 6 months. Like, I'm going to cut this thing in half. And 3 months later, after the surgery, I was back to playing. Like,
Mm.
I just made sure
Termination
that
again.
yeah,
Yep.
I just made sure that I was in control because I knew what it was like to not be in control, and I was like, I'm not having that again. I need to take control of my life. So yeah, was able to do that. Spent some time with my family, obviously made the most of that, and then also started to getting into business and everything, which is that's around the time that we met.
Yep.
And then I went back to France. When I was recovered and everything, I went back to France and I was able to sign a with a semi-professional team in France that competed in the sixth division, right? So now this is like men's, so it's not youth anymore. So I'm playing in the men's category because I'm 19 years old at the time, or 20. I think I was 20. Might have been 20. I don't know. I was young.
I met you at
Um,
19.
yeah, we met when we were 19, when I was 19, yeah. Um, so yeah, I signed with them. I signed like in the middle of their season, so I finished the season with them. Season goes really well personally, like on a personal level, I do really well. And then I'm able to sign with a fifth division club, so I made some progress. I just completed that year with them, right? Literally just came back from that season with them, and the team actually got promoted into the fourth division. Um, but then throughout the season, there was a lot of reflecting that I had done. There was a lot of circumstances and things that were happening where, after thinking about it for a really long time, I made a very conscious decision to take a break from this
Mm.
pursuit of soccer.
Hmm.
Uh, Even though I could have kept on going, the club that I was with, they offered for me to stay on. Like in fact, they were very adamant on it. But I had already made up my decision, and the reason for that decision is I wanted to be back with my family. I wanted to be home. I've been putting pressure on myself for the past 9 years to go at this, right? And it's gotten to a point where I stopped doing it out of love for the game and I started to do it more for just this accomplishment and reaching that level. And that's not the right reason, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So yeah, I genuinely I stopped enjoying playing soccer, which is crazy to me because it's like the love of my life, right?
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah.
you get to a point where you don't actually enjoy being with someone, but you're just there for whatever reason. Like it's not healthy. So yeah, that's the main reason behind my decision. But then there's also other things where like I know that I can have an even stronger impact in the world. There are other things that I can start doing and putting in place. So it's not a decision where I'm like I've left everything and I've lost everything. It's more there's a new opportunity ahead. There's a new chapter. to be written, and I'm just excited to turn this page and move on to bigger and better things. And soccer's still going to be a really big part of my life, whether I'm going to continue pursuing it professionally or not. I honestly, to this day, I do not know. I've given myself a time frame, and at the end of this time frame, I'm gonna make that decision. I'm gonna see where I'm at, how I feel. Um, but yeah, that's been the journey so far. Yeah,
And literally, you just got home yesterday.
I just got home yesterday,
Back
and
to your bedroom. Look at his bedroom right there. He's back to his where he grew up. Well, not really.
this
Where
is
you
yeah,
grew
no,
up until 13,
yeah, this is like
and
my
you're back in the
childhood.
same room. So you've done
Yeah,
a full circle.
yeah, honestly, this is like my childhood bedroom. I've converted it into like my office space now, so I actually sleep in the other bedroom because my sister has moved out. Um, but yeah,
And
back
behind you,
home.
you were telling me about the jersey behind you that's hanging on the wall, the green one.
Yeah, this one right here.
And what is
Yeah,
that?
this is a jersey from the club that I was just with, and a lot of the players they all signed the jersey and stuff like that. But it was really nice actually. The farewell that the club gave me and stuff was really, really nice. It was actually quite heartwarming.
I bet.
Um, yeah, no, it was a really
And
nice
all the friends
experience.
you've made in the last 9 years.
Yeah, I decided to like I would say like my 8 closest friends that I have in France, I like hand wrote letters to each one of them just
Mm,
to thank them because like they were my family while I was away
yeah,
from mine, right?
yeah.
These are the people who I would spend a lot of time with, who I'd go out and play soccer with, like outside of the club and everything. These are the people who were there for me. So I mean, yeah, I'm so grateful for everything and how everything has played out. Even though, like, when I was a little kid, like, the one thing that I wanted was to play at the highest level possible, be a professional, play at the first division or whatever it is. I today, I would not change a single thing. I would not change one thing. If I
Why is
were to
that?
do it again, I'd do everything the same way. Um, the reason for that, to answer your question, Susan, is because I am very happy with who I am as a result of everything.
Hmm.
I don't think that what we do in our life is as important as who we are and who we become. And yeah, I'm just very happy to be who I am. I love myself. I love the person who I am today. I think that um I have grown so much and there's so much more to look forward to in life.
Hmm.
So yeah, even though I didn't really get to the level where I thought I would get to when I was a little kid, um I think just the fact that I took the risk, just the fact that I took that step, just the fact that I took action and did what most people wouldn't do,
Hmm. For sure.
um,
Yeah.
it means a lot. And it's not failure. It's not any of that stuff. In fact, it's one of the biggest wins I could have ever had. Just the fact like that I was able to take that step at that age, that I had the support around me, that I had my family with me, that everyone was just with me throughout those times and I was able to just experience that. Yeah, it was so cool.
Wow. What a
Yeah.
story. And here you are, the first day of your next chapter
Yep.
that
Doing
you're
a
going to go
podcast.
into. And um, I'm so excited because I get to be a part of that chapter because,
Yeah.
you know, if you look at what Rehan has gone through and what he's learned from his family, from his experiences, from the hardship, from the work,
Yeah.
how much he's trained his mind to be powerful, to believe in himself, to do the things that he wants to do, to go after his dreams, to make decisions. All of those things are what we want our teens to have in their toolbox. And
Yeah.
that's why Rehan and I do what we do. So we believe passionately that we can give teenagers these skills, this mindset to go after their dreams, to do what they want to do, to not feel like they can't be themselves, to be on authentically themselves,
Yeah.
and love who they are. And that is our biggest mission right now. Um, whether it be through our courses, coaching, you know, bigger things that we have coming through Teen Talks, Firefly Quest, and whatever, you know, Rehan's going to do more, I know. So he's got his own coaching with soccer players as well. And I'm just excited to see the next chapter for you. I think it's
Thank
going to
you.
be amazing. Um, so, and Firefly just came out with our course, our introduction to this type of thinking and this type of power that he has now has.
Mhm.
And so we invite you to check it out. It's available, and both of us are the coaches, so we're excited.
Yeah.
Anyway, um,
Yep.
so much lessons here. And if you want to learn more about how he really was the upbringing from his parents' point of view, you can go back to watch the interview that we did with his mom, Azra. It was really eye-opening because you hear the other side of letting your kid leave and all that. I mean, it was fascinating. So
Yeah. And there's so much, like there's so much more to share and parts of the story and parts of the journey that obviously I haven't mentioned, but you know, it's all cool when you get these different perspectives and you get these different points of view to see how the story just unfolded, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
there's
yeah,
so much
definitely.
in that, you know, we all have our own story, we all have our own thing. But
Yeah.
to look at it respectively back, and you go and look and go, well, this happened for this reason, and this happened for this reason, and I learned this because of this. And
Yeah.
yes, I failed here, but I learned from it. You know, all
Hmm.
those things are things that we want to teach our kids to know that
Yeah.
this is life and
Yeah.
this is how you get through life well.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. Um, but yeah, thank you all for listening and watching and tuning into this episode. We appreciate you all. We love you all. We wish you all the best. And yeah, if you want to learn more about Thrive 101, which is the course that Susan has just launched, if you want to learn more about all of that stuff, it's all going to be in the description or in the show notes of this video or this podcast.
Mhm.
And yeah, so go ahead and check that out. And yeah, we'll just see you all next Friday. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, or follow the podcast if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever else. And yeah,
Give a
take care
shout
of
out to
yourselves.
Rehan. Let him know what you think of his bravery and his career. Put in the comments. We'd love to see.
Yeah, or you guys can just roast me and be like, you're ridiculous. That's fine too. Uh, but yeah, no, take care, everyone. We love you all, and we'll see you next Friday.
Bye.
Peace.